Sir, so can we begin?
Please.
Good afternoon, good evening, sir.
So good morning and welcome to all educators and esteemed members joining us on the second day of our training sessions. Your presence enriches our discussions and shows your commitment to learning and professional growth. We are delighted to have you here for another day of enriching discussions. Yesterday, we began our journey, and today we are continuing with some more engaging sessions. So I would like to give a warm welcome to Dr. A.K. Sharma, our esteemed Regional Education Officer for North and Northeastern region. Sir's guidance and leadership has been instrumental in shaping these training sessions, and we are grateful for his presence and insights today. So we'll start our session with a prayer. Prayer is a powerful tool that helps us center our thoughts and focus our energies. It instills a sense of peace and mindfulness, setting a positive note for the day ahead. Prayer unites us in a common purpose, creating a harmonious environment where we all can strive towards our shared goals. So let us join our hands and bow our heads for the prayer.
Dipali ma'am, you have to continue.
Our first session will be taken by Srimati Preeti Sangwan ma'am, Principal, Ashram Munshi Marg, Jaipur. Her remarkable contribution to education are well known to everyone, setting the stage for an enriching session. Mrs. Sangwan is a distinguished educational professional with a robust academic background and over 2 decades of experience in leading academic institutions. She holds a master's degree in commerce from Delhi University and is a certified cost accountant from the Institutes of Cost Accountants of India. Throughout her career, Mrs. Sangwan has occupied key leadership roles, including 5 years as Dean of Academics and principal at various esteemed institutions such as Vidya Devi Jindal School, Hisar, Cambridge School, Noida, and Trinity International School, Pune. Her dedication to mentoring and nurturing young talent earned her a certificate of recognition for qualifications and assessment International UK in the year 2016 for her exceptional guidance to young entrepreneurs at the school level. In 2013, she was awarded the National Teachers Award by Bombay Stock Exchange for her significant contribution to promoting financial literacy among students. To further hone her leadership skills, Ma'am Sangwan completed a program on strategic leadership for schools in a changing environment at IIM Ahmedabad, showcasing her commitment to staying at the cutting edge of educational practices. Renowned for her passion for education, her skill in curriculum organization, and her ability to work collaboratively with professionals, Mrs. Sangwan is highly regarded as an exceptional mentor and team leader. Mrs. Sangwan's session today will delve into the vital topics of diversity and inclusion with a focus on culturally responsive teaching. In today's interconnected world, fostering an environment where every student feels valued and understood is crucial for academic and personal growth. Ma'am's extensive experience and leadership in education make her uniquely qualified to guide us through these crucial aspects of fostering an inclusive learning environment. So please join me in welcoming Mrs. Preeti Sangwan, ma'am. Over to ma'am.
Thank you, Dipali. Namaskar. I extend greetings to Honorable Dr. A.K. Sharma and all the vice principals, HMs, and coordinators of Bhavan's family who are attending today's session. Though I would say Sunday is not the ideal day to conduct and hold a learning session, but I'm pretty sure it will certainly set the momentum for reopening of our schools. Vice principals, HMs, and coordinators are considered by principals as the sounding board person. Principals, they validate their ideas, the decisions they wish to take, from the feedback and from the suggestions received from the second level of leadership. And it is very obvious because, yes, the second level of leadership, the people, they have direct connect with teachers and with the children. They understand what is the sentiment and what is the pulse of the school. And that's why, their role is very crucial in arriving at the right decision every day. I'm very hopeful that the session is going to add another dimension to your thought process. And from the session, to be very precise and to be very succinct, you will be able to understand one of the reasons of achievement gaps in children, how to convert dependent learners to independent learners who will be leading their learning later on in their lives. What do we mean by fixed mindset, and how culturally responsive teaching or pedagogy changes our child fixed mindset to growth mindset. And I'm pretty sure with all this insight, you'll be able to guide your colleagues in a better way. So, Dipali, I wish to share my screen.
Yes, ma'am, sure. Ruchi ma'am, will you be able to share the screen?
Ma'am, I am unable to share because I don't have this option of share.
No problem, ma'am. Share it.
Click on cancel.
Ma'am,
if
I'll
it is
share.
possible.
Ma'am, Preeti,
Yes,
ma'am,
yes.
you try for once, and if you are not able to, then I'll share.
right?
I'll try one more time because I prefer to change the slides on my own. I'm sorry, I'm unable to do. So let's not waste time.
Ruchina, you share the screen.
Yes. Okay, so our topic for today's discussion is CRT, that is culturally responsive teaching. Ruchi, quickly move to the second slide. So let's kick off our discussion and let's have a look at the few pictures which are on this present slide of our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. 6 pictures. He's wearing different headgears and different attire. If I take the permission, if I take this leverage to make one important political, I would say, satire, yes, there are one or two caps which people of India would like him to adorn. I am not deliberately using the word minority. So why this is needed? Why different headgears are needed? India is a country of multiple ethnicity. So it is expected from the leader of this country commitment to embrace and honor diversity. Modi ji wearing different headgears or different attires is a message to public at large. And also, most importantly, I would say the message goes to his party workers. He is one of them. That gives impetus, that gives stimulus to his party people to work, that gives confidence to the citizens of India that our Prime Minister understands our problem, our issues, and yes, we are relevant to him. And thus they feel safe. So let's the same concept to our classrooms. Ruchi, could you move on to the next slide? We all are aware of that even our classrooms are full of diversity. We experience diversity in our classrooms. uh, I'm not spending much time on the terminology which I feel that I'm making this assumption that we are already aware of, for example the meaning of diversity or meaning of culture. So many researchers and many educators, they have observed that in classrooms generally it is found few groups of, I would say, few culture. It can be based on language, can be based on caste, religion, staying in the same area, okay, belonging to same economic strata of society, they start dominating the classrooms. In what way? That yes, even the pedagogy which a teacher selects, at times it is dependent upon the popular culture of the class. And as a result, it is even more important for the teacher to ensure equity and inclusivity in the classroom for the marginalized group. The group which believes that yes, compliance is expected in the classroom. The group which believes that I'm not bringing or we are not bringing much value to the classroom. And it is our responsibility to make judgment and try hard to understand. With the I'm inadequate. So, why is it important to understand culturally responsive teaching? One, as I just mentioned, that yes, the classrooms are diverse. And secondly, it is important to understand the role of intellectually and socially safe environment in students' learning. Two words are used, intellectually and socially safe. So when we say intellectually safe, I am trying to convey every child, irrespective of his or her background, whether rich or poor, coming from very affluent family or say coming from any caste, religion, Punjabi, Tamilian, Gujarati, or any other reason of diversity, every child deserves a stimulating intellectual environment. I repeat the statement, irrespective of the background of the child, whether the child is coming from a very polished, very well, highly educated family, or not so polished or not so educated family, every child deserves a stimulating learning environment. And thus, for teachers and for us, it is important to understand what they must feel to learn with curiosity and as an independent learner. That means what should be their mindset, right? So when we say stimulating environment consists of what all elements? The most important element is the teacher, is the mentor, the facilitator, right? So her mindset, her lens of looking at the things and understanding the things and problems, right? The vocabulary which is used, whether used by a teacher or in our assignments or in our assessments, even in our books, the is planned. What are these subject? What are the topics of those? The gadgets which are used. Each and every child, say over a period of time, say over a period of say 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, really relate to what is being taught in the class or what the learning environment is offering to the child, right? So could you please Ruchi, move on to the next slide? Okay, so let's understand that why understanding culture is so important. We all understand, we all sense the world through our cultural lens. I'll give you one example. This is for the adult world. Unified Civil Code. How do we understand, this proposition? I'm pretty sure most of us we look at from the first of all from the cultural lens. What should be the food habits? Vegetarian, non-vegetarian. In my opinion, the first lens which an adult uses is the cultural lens. Besides the scientific reason that somebody favors veg or non-veg, whatever is the scientific reason, right? So culture, it turns out, is the way that every brain makes sense of the world. That is why everyone, regardless of race or ethnicity, has a culture. Treat culture as a software for brain's hardware. Brain uses cultural information to turn everyday happenings in the meaningful event. It's a very important statement. This statement I have picked up from a book which is written by Zaretta Hammond, that how exactly brain works. It's a very important book on cultural responsive teaching. And I find this statement very meaningful. Most of the time, as teachers or as coordinators, we often, first of all, we fail to, give the adequate time which is required by children to understand that why there are achievement gaps and what problems they are facing. And most of the time, most of us, we follow a shortcut, and the shortcut is okay, there are certain issues, there are some inadequacies, and that's the reason why the child is unable to understand this. Whereas the approach should be the inadequacy lies on the other side, on the side of the teacher, on the side of the principal or vice principal. Why? Because we fail to understand the cultural background of perhaps, I guess the more appropriate statement would be, at times we fail to make an attempt to understand what is the cultural background of the child who's facing achievement gaps, right? And how the cultural background can be tapped, can be used to face this achievement gap or the poor performance of the child or poor understanding of the child, right? Could you please change the slide? I would like to share one true story. I have changed the names for the reason of privacy. So, this story is of an 11-year-old or say a 12-year-old girl, Sunita. A very happy go lucky girl and a very intelligent, very sharp, and a very sincere girl. Her father was working when this incident happened, when this story happened. Her father was working in central government job. So they were posted in Assam in Guwahati, and from Guwahati they were posted to Port Blair. Port Blair is in Andaman and Nicobar, right? And before Assam, most of the time Sunita she studied in North. Lucknow or Delhi or NCR region. So she took admission. She was admitted to a very good school in Port Blair. I would like to share a few key highlights of the school. The population of the school, that is teachers and children, most of them, they were South Indians, either South Indians or Bengalis, most of them, right? Most of the children, they were coming from highly educated families, right, from forces. And the third, most of the children, they had developed the habit by that age, 11 or 12 years, to converse among themselves in English. I can say is almost say 70 to 80% of the children. Okay. Sunita, coming from a North Indian background and Hindi being her mother tongue, she was very articulate and she was very confident when she used to converse in Hindi, right? But the highlights which I have shared with you, those highlights posed a cultural shock in Sunita's life. If I talk about the last picture of this slide, teachers were very dedicated, very learned teachers, right? Okay, sincere teachers. So the environment of the school was a very appropriate environment for learning. It was an intellectual environment, but was not stimulating for Sunita. I would like to repeat this statement. It was an intellectual environment, but was not stimulating for Sunita. In fact, initially, it appeared very intimidating to her. So, what was the reason for that? Number one, there's a complete disconnect because of the language practice, the language rule of the school. Okay. And moreover, Sunita, she joined the school in the middle of the session. And as a result, she had a lot of backlog as well. So her state of mind became the other children, they are more capable. Okay, they can do. Most of them are better than me, right? So her confidence in her abilities was completely shaken. From a happy-go-lucky girl, she became a girl with a lot of self-doubts. So let's see how the turnaround in a story happened. Ruchika, move to the next slide. Yes. She was very good at Hindi. As I said, she was coming from a North Indian family background. And she had a flair, even at that age, flair for poetry and literature. And credit goes to her mother. Her mother was an avid reader of Hindi literature. In fact, in the family, there was a habit of the environment was like this during the meal time. The conversation used to revolve around literature. So during half yearly examination, her performance in Hindi exam was extraordinary good. So in Hindi assessment, she had written an extraordinary explanation, Vyakhya, of one piece of poetry, which was highly appreciated by the Hindi teacher in front of the entire class. That was a turning point for Sunita in that school. For the first time, she realized that she brings value to the class. This sentence is important, and the most important word is value. For the first time in the school, she realized that she brings value to the class. She had a good understanding of language and literature and had a very polished language and value system, which was acknowledged by that Hindi teacher. So now her frame of mind was, I can. Not only this, the Hindi teacher introduced her and suggested her few good books of both English and Hindi to read. That opened an entire whole to Sunita, mythology, planets, universe, geography, and many, many more subjects. By reading and by getting exposure through good books, she established connections with what she was learning in the class, and that provided stimulation to the brain. So another boon in disguise happened. Mrs. Sarkar, mathematics teacher, the most respected teacher of the school, and she was also in charge of that wing. She came to know about Sunita's performance. So she contacted parents, she called her mother and understood the complete culture and the reason for achievement gaps in this port player school. She understood that Sunita, she is facing challenges. One, she's not fluent in English. There's a lot of backlog. Many changes at home. Mother shared that earlier her brother, now since they are studying at engineering colleges, then they are not no longer staying with us. So now Sunita has to manage the entire studies on her own. So and because of all this reason, she was finding it difficult to make friends of her type. That means intelligent, sincere, good. Okay, she was finding it difficult to make friends of her type in the class. Mrs. Sarkar, she followed asset-based approach. So there are two ways to approach an issue. One is deficit-based approach, and second is asset-based approach. So what is asset-based approach? Focus on the strength. Focus on what this person or what this opportunity or this situation is bringing in. Okay, and on that build. Mrs. Sarkar viewed her as sincere girl and with a very logical bent of mind. She encouraged her because since she was quite good in poetry and all, so she encouraged her to convert the problems given in NCRT exercises, those very straight problem exercise one and very boring kind of, the sums or the problems which are given solve. So she said, Sunita, you converted into some interesting word problems. It was a good for the entire class. Sunita was quite good at it. It doesn't mean that every time she was quite successful. She tasted failure as well. But by now, Sunita was confident. She was confident that yes, I'm adding value. Not only Sunita gained, because of this approach, the other classmates also gained. Max period, see, Mrs. Sarkar, since she was heading the wing and she had a reputation of a good disciplinarian as well. So she ensured that yes, while children are having fun when Sunita is converting those problems into word problems, she ensured that the discipline should be maintained. But there was a shift from a very firm and a very straight maths class to a class which offers ease. And as a result, the other classmates also gained, right? So, what were Sunita's achievement gaps before that? Her poor understanding of the concept before this turnaround happened, she could not relate to. She could not relate to when science was taught in the class or the other subjects were taught. And as a result, her performance was poor in the formative assessments. Her assignments were incomplete. Let's see what helps Sunita to cover achievement gaps. Number one, self efficacy. That is believing her ability and having high expectation from self. Self efficacy, believing her ability, because she started looking maths, Hindi, and other subjects from the cultural strength which she had. That is her command over her mother tongue. Okay, and command in the sense that yes, she had a good command over the poetry and literature as well, appropriate to her age. Brought, now high expectation from self. Not only this experience, the two teachers who really helped her, to gain this high expectation. One is Mrs. Sarkar. When she asked Sunita that now you convert, these problems into word problem. So that conveyed to Sunita, yes, I'm capable of doing, what the other children cannot do. Okay, thus high expectation from self. Second, intellectually stimulating environment. What was appreciated by Hindi teacher? Excellent explanation, very deep meaning, very polished language, and then introduction to library. Right? Same goes for even maths class. Innovative way of asking the child who's struggling with maths, and perhaps I guess that time she was struggling with self, asking that child, you convert this problem in some other format. That was intellectually stimulating environment. Here, I would like to add on one point. When we talk about culturally responsive teaching, it doesn't mean conducting activities when we are asking, okay, now children, you bring say 28 dishes from different states. Okay, and then yes, we are showing that yes, we are culturally sensitive or we are relating to different culture. No, it means understanding the cultural strength or the cultural background of the child and accordingly providing the stimulus. Okay. The third thing which really helped her, culture as a hook to build further knowledge, which we have just discussed. Fourth, trust based authentic relation with teachers. Culture can be a very sensitive issue. Okay, if we don't exhibit the sensitivity, and as I initially said, if we don't exhibit the behavior where we are showcasing, we are embracing, and we are honoring, we are respecting the other culture, it leads to distrust as well. Fine. So, because of Mrs. Sarkar and as well as Hindi teacher, especially with Mrs. Sarkar, she had a very authentic relation, which was completely based on trust. Yes, she is my mentor, she is the facilitator, she is that adult in my life who can bring me, who can pull me out of this another situation which I have reached, because her performance was very poor. Right? So, this is what culturally responsive teaching had done to Sunita. She was confident. Ruchika, could you just go back? Because that slide is more important. Yes. She was confident. She had faith in her ability and high expectation from herself. Right? She got intellectually stimulating environment. Okay. She further constructed her knowledge and she understood the difficult, complex concept from the lens of her culture. And she was fortunate enough to have a very trust-based, authentic relation with her teachers. Right? Please move on. Right. So, what is culturally responsive teaching? What we have understood so far? It's basically an approach. It connects students' cultures, language, and life experiences with what they learn in school. These connections help students understand the curriculum and eliminate achievement gaps. That means poor understanding. That is eliminated. Right? The concept becomes more relevant to them. Why? Because they've already experienced in their life what they've experienced, some culture they experience in their life. Okay, when they're understanding from the of the culture, so it becomes relevant and it helps in eliminating or reducing the achievement gaps. It values and reflects the assets of all the students. Mrs. Sarkar, she adopted asset-based approach, and by doing that, it raises academic expectations for all learners. Right? It also sends a message that multiculturalism is good and or brings value to the class. Will you please move on? So it's a powerful way to reach out to all the students. So what are the benefits of an environment in the class which is highly sensitive when it comes to the culture? It raises expectations for all the students. We have discussed this. It builds cultural competence in whom? In the teacher. It's not only the children who are bringing different cultures to the classroom. The teachers are also. We are also taking our culture, our cultural lens, our cultural viewpoint to the classroom. So, culturally responsive teaching can also help teachers reflect on how their own identity and experiences must impact their attitudes. Experiences impact, not must, sorry, impact their attitudes and teaching practices. Right? It develops an intellectually and socially safe environment for children, and it makes the learning environment more relevant. For example, if there is a division problem, it is related to their routine, assigning tasks to assess, or if we assign the task to assess the nutrition of the food intake which they are taking at home, so that makes it more relevant. It helps students feel valued and empowered. A sense of belonging makes learning easier and builds students self confidence, which I feel is the edifice of any learning environment. Move on. To have a culturally responsive environment starts connecting with the academic community of her class or of his class. So, uh, when we say, this child starts connecting with the academic community, we must have experienced there are many children in few classes. Yes, there's a quite a number of children who fail to connect with the academic community. They participate in the class discussions. But when it comes to the core academic discussions, they feel, okay, this is not my cup of tea. Okay. But when the teacher starts explaining the things from that cultural angle, right, then the child starts relating to the academic community. Okay, let's understand what the components of academic mindset of such a child. One, a sense of belongingness, that yes, I belong to this academic community, a strong sense of academic belongingness where students see themselves as a members of not only a social community. Social community means not only, adding on these sentences in the classroom when some kind of a discussion is on, when activity is on, which is not related to academics. But each and every child feels that I am also part of this intellectual community and I can add on some intellectual value which I'm bringing to the class. I can succeed at this. Okay, this is the second highlight of that mindset. Right? With Sunita, she realized when she was appreciated and when she was valued in front of the entire class. So, the degree to which students believe they are good at a particular kind of task or field of study is strongly associated with the academic perseverance. Before a child decides that yes, I can understand this concept or I'll be able to do very well in my formative assessments or in my assignment, the first thing, the prelude which is needed is that yes, the child has the confidence, I can succeed this. Right? So when the child experiences, yes, there is no bias in my classroom. My classroom is not dominated by, few children belonging to a particular group having similar kind of habits, okay, which are generally appreciated by the larger community of my class. There is a place for my opinion and my voice as well. And who has the responsibility to create that culture? Is the responsibility of each principal, vice principal, the child that yes, I can succeed at this. That whatever task is assigned, I can make a good attempt. Right? I'm taking the last one first. This work has value for me. That means the children they start realizing that task assigned or whatever teacher is discussing, because this I experience in my life. I have seen certain gadgets which my teacher is using or certain props which my teacher is using on the vocabulary used by my teacher. I've already experienced, I've already heard, I've already seen, I've already played at home. Okay, the culture which provides a lot of social emotional safety, I've already experienced. So the child starts believing, yes, the work which I'm doing in the class or yes, in any learning space has value. The intrinsic value placed on the academic task and topics that connect in some way to students' lives, future educational pursuits, or current interest. And the last one, that is the growth mindset. My ability and competence. Please go back. I am not done with that. My ability and competence grow with my effort. Right? So here there is no place for failure because the child has developed this mindset. Whatever is the level of my ability and the competence, if I'm making effort, okay, which is appreciated by the environment, especially by the teacher, by the adults in the environment, the elders in the environment, if I'm working on my ability and confidence, it will subtly grow, okay, and will make me more and more proficient. The degree to which students have growth mindset means they are more likely to interpret academic challenges and they're ready to commit mistakes and they treat mistakes as, you know, steps of learning. So Sunita, in maths class, my Ruchika, okay. So here now we have on a screen uh, the learning pit, which not only children, we adults as well, we also experience this learning pit. How exactly we learn a topic, a concept which is completely alien to us, which is completely new to us. On an average, people with average IQ, how do they treat it? I don't understand it at all. Okay. After making some attempt, it's hard. Okay. If they're not understanding and if they're finding it hard, they fail to connect it with their life, with the real life. And thus, the mind starts telling them it's not relevant. Okay. And then the dialogues, the internal dialogues are, I can't do this. This is stupid. Stupid means this is irrelevant. It's better to quit. I want to quit. Sunita reached to that stage when she became the girl full of self doubt. That was the time, fortunately, certain incident happened, and Mrs. Sarkar and the Hindi teacher provided the scaffolding. When she was, again, I'm using the word nadir, nadir of her academic performance, deep down in the pit, right? They understood her strength and then they started using the cultural background or the cultural strength of Sunita. And as a result, now Sunita's upward journey started. Okay, so what does this remind me of? Now there is a connection in the concept which the learning environment is offering or posing, and now the child has started connecting with it. There is some connection. Let me just explore. What does this remind me of? There is some connection. Examples in the non. How do these pieces fit together? That means the experiences which I have already had, and the explanation or what I'm experiencing now in this activity. How can I put it together? Okay, to the frame of mind, I see this makes some sense now. I can do it. I was wrong when I was giving up. I know it. Eureka, I understand it. Okay. So when the child is uh, in the mind frame of the statements which are written in red, I can't do this, this is stupid, I want to quit. That is the time. And that is, the message, or that is the red flag time where it is our responsibility of the facilitators and the teachers to ensure and understand, to ensure to understand what is the cultural background of the child. This can be one probable failure in achieving good success or a high success in academic performance. Right? This is where the scaffolding is needed. Right? Move on to the next slide, Ruchika. Okay, so this slide I really liked. I thought, although all of you must be aware of fixed mindset and growth mindset, but it is very important for us to exhibit growth mindset in front of our children, right? And as well as to practice in our life, and as well as to build growth mindset. Most of us, and same goes for our children, why we fail to understand the things, because we fail to make another attempt to understand, right? Growth mindset means there's no failure. There's nothing called failure. Okay, everything is, so every experience is a learning experience. And people and children with growth mindset, they believe if I'm making effort, subtly I can develop and I can become more proficient, I can develop abilities and my competency, right? The two pictures which are shown on the slide, in both the pictures, children, they are using some objects, some props to learn. uh, Sunita, she learned a lot in library, so that was the time she spent with books, not with a teacher, not with a person, right? And as a result, she was learning everything because nobody was interfering. She was learning everything, whatever she was reading from the books, from her cultural lens, which was the only thing available to learn and to construct the new knowledge. Right? Same goes for these two pictures. The girl in white and pink skirt, she is exploring on her own. She is showing interest. Perhaps she has already experienced this kind of activity or this kind of a concept somewhere at home, or somebody must have discussed, something related to that. Same goes for the other picture, a child who is, talking or speaking about leaf. It's an excellent opportunity for the child to express himself from his cultural background. What do I know about this leaf? What do I know about nature? An excellent opportunity for the teacher to understand the cultural background of the child. Right? Okay. So move on to next. Yes. So as a teacher, how can I be more culturally responsive in my teaching? Okay. I'm sure that yes, as experienced teacher and coordinators and vice principals, we are very much aware of, and perhaps I guess we must be practicing all these points which are already mentioned here. And there are many, many other points as well. Because of paucity of time, I only main 6 points which I feel are more relevant. Let's understand again. So one is reflect on our old cultural knowledge. So first of all, I should be knowing what is my understanding. How do I look at the world? Okay, what is my view of looking at the things? Right. To be very precise, what are my biases? What all biases I have? Right. Second important thing is present new concepts in the class by using student vocabulary. Right. So yes, understand that with what vocabulary students are comfortable. Parent teacher meetings, or whenever we are talking to the parents, we must find out occasions to talk to the parents. This really gives us a good insight. Okay, yes, what is the culture in the school, what kind of a language is spoken at home. So if we when we are introducing new concept, right, I would like to request everybody if you can please be slightly more patient. Yes, thank you so much. Right. So when we are introducing a new concept, if we are using student vocabulary, so it makes it more relevant and easy to understand. Learn about your students, conduct interviews. Okay, ask them in the previous lesson what they really liked, where they face difficulty. Okay, what is their routine at home? Okay, that will give you the complete overview of the child. Bring in guest speakers. So suppose if children or a few children are unable to develop interest in geography, and if we call a person who's been in mountaineering, his vocabulary will be very different. Okay, his way of connecting with the subject with geography would be very different, and that will create a good understanding of children, good understanding in children. Right, connect with families and communities. Use media positively depict a range of culture. I guess in most of we have smart boards. So yes, when we are using videos, movies, short films, right, pictures depicting different culture and different geographical background. So certainly, yes, the entire class, all the children, they will find one or the other opportunity to connect it, with their culture. Move on to next. Right. So this is the slide which is again related to reflecting upon and exploring teachers' assumption, that is our own assumptions, attitude, and biases. Right. For example, how do your interactions, that means as teachers' interaction with students, reflect your attitudes about cultural differences? Right. So one suggestion is being given here. Record your session. Maybe record couple of sessions randomly and watch your sessions. That will give you a good insight what lens are you carrying. Right, think about whether your teaching is biased in favor of mainstream ways of knowing and learning. Maybe most of the time we are using this pedagogy which we have been using for ages. right? The way children they are interacting with the world, especially in the times when we are facing this challenge that children are using a lot of technology, right? Maybe the old methods have become completely redundant. Okay, so yes, checking the bias. If we are more biased, if we are more in favor of the old way of teaching, right, that might be a hindrance. That is not connecting with the current culture of your classroom. Right? Do you see cultural difference as a problem for teaching and learning to be solved? It is quite probable most of us, many of us, or maybe few of us, we believe that yes, this is one of the secondary problems, not the problems to be addressed. Right? And I guess this point is quite relevant for principals, vice principals, and coordinators, right? Because this is one of the prominent problems for achievement gaps. Become more aware of your own views of the world and the ways in which this can lead to misrepresentation of cultural groups, right? And actions and to the understandings and interactions with students, right? Um, Many of you must have watched this movie, Dear Zindagi. Could you please move on to the next slide? I'm pretty sure, I guess many of you must have watched this movie. So, the counselor conveyed to the protagonist in the movie at the end. So it's all about forming patterns. Okay, whatever experiences we go through, eventually the result is we form a pattern, and forming a pattern means that is the perception with which we look at the world, we look at others, right? And the best way, to have a very pragmatic approach in life and completely unbiased and a very happy approach in life is don't allow your mind to follow a pattern, right? So, in the previous slide, in the last point, what I wanted to convey, be aware of your patterns, right? Some patterns you will find are not at all healthy. Healthy in the sense they are, making the biases very strong. Okay, so it is important time and again we must check our patterns. So this picture is a very famous illusion picture. I'm pretty sure most of you must have seen it before also. So some of you may view this picture as a picture of a young woman, and few of you must have viewed it as a picture of an old woman, right? This picture is also used by Stephen Covey in his very popular bestseller, Habits of Effective People, Seven Habits of Effective People. Okay, so it is all about paradigm. It's about our own perception, right? I would like to share just one example which he shared in his book. So one father and two children, quite young, 6 or 7 year old children. So they were in a local train, okay, and they were creating a lot of ruckus in the train. So another passenger, he tolerated for some time, and then he told the father, "Why don't you take care of your kids?" Right? He said, "Ki we are just coming back from hospital. My wife passed away in the morning. We lost their mother. Three of us. We are unable to understand how to react in this situation." And suddenly, the entire perception of that passenger changed. So, with one additional piece of knowledge, the understanding, the perception completely changed. And same goes for the classroom, which is full of diversity. Okay. And every diversity, right? Every culture is important for a teacher to understand. Right? Move on to the next one. Ruchi, could you please move on to the next one?
चल रहा Ruchi ma'am.
1 minute, ma'am. I'm sharing again. Just give me 1 second, ma'am.
Right. So next 3, 4 slides are related to understanding your lens. So it's a kind of exercise. I'll give you, you can do later on. So move on to the next slide, Ruchi. Okay, yes. Yes. We see the world through the lens of all our experiences, and this is fundamental part of human condition. Okay. We all have lens through which we see, we value and evaluate our students. So what is our lens? This we need to check time to time. Just move on to next. You can do this exercise later on. Move on, madam. Ruchi, madam, could you please move on? Yes. So the exercise is write the names of five people who are closest to you besides your own family members. Right? Right? This you can do it later on. But if you wish to write down, if you wish to, click the picture, so that will be nice. So write names of five people with whom you feel very close besides your own family. The word family is missing here. Besides your own family members. Right? Move on to next, Ruchi. Yes. Now, after writing down their names, write down their age, gender, educational qualification, caste, religion, or any other important information which you feel that, yes, I should be writing. You will get to know your pattern, right? Okay. Maybe you trust people who are old. Maybe you trust people belonging to your own gender, right? So there is one comment. I am unable to read what is written here. I request the people who are attending, could you please wait? It's a matter of just 2 minutes. Yes. So we teach who we are. When I do not know myself, I cannot know who my students are. I will see them through a glass darkly in the shadows of my own unexamined life. I remember when I conducted the session for the first time also, I was very much moved by this line, and this is uh, shadows of my own unexamined life. We examine, we evaluate situations, people, anything which is outside, right? Which we fail to examine.
स्पीकर अगर म्यूटेड नहीं होगा तो
The most important thing which we fail to examine is our own life. And when I cannot see them clearly, I cannot teach them well. That means when I cannot see my own lens clearly, I cannot teach my children well. Right? I think that was the last slide. Because we do not have time, I will share the PPT with this group. Move on to the last one. In case you have any questions, your questions are welcome. This is the suggested reading by Zaretta Hammond. I would recommend all the vice principal. The book is slightly expensive, I guess 3,000 or 4,000 something. Please recommend this book for your school library. Right. In fact, you will understand, what are the genesis of this culturally responsive teaching. It started from US, and there's a reason for it. So once you read this book, you will understand. And then, yes, we can replicate this concept and the sensitivity in our classroom. Right? So thank you so much. Any questions? I'm available. Thank you. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Sharma, for giving me this opportunity.
Our privilege, ma'am.
Yes.
So, does anybody have any questions for ma'am? Okay, then we'll proceed. Thank you so much, Ma'am Preeti Sangwan. The session was very informative and engaging, offering valuable insights that surely benefit us all. So Sunita's story taught us how teachers connect, and culturally responsive teaching can totally transform a student's life. We sincerely appreciate your time and expertise in advancing our knowledge. To acknowledge the efforts and the knowledge generously shared by our esteemed speaker, I would now invite Srimati Ranjita Bhatia to deliver a formal vote of thanks.
am I audible, ma'am?
Yes. You are.
I'm sorry, but I don't know why the camera is not starting off, although I'm clicking it. Can I continue? Meanwhile, maybe the camera switches on. I've just tried to click it.
Okay, ma'am,
So,
no problem.
with all due respect, can I begin my vote of thanks? Although the camera is not being switched on, I don't know why. There
Please
is a
carry on,
camera.
carry on.
Okay. Namaskar to one and all present here. As we draw towards closing of this session, it is my privilege to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to all who have made this hour a resounding success. First and foremost, I wish to express my deepest gratitude to our esteemed patron, Dr. A.K. Sharma ji, whose unwavering support and vision have always been instrumental in the realization of all such kind of workshops whenever and wherever we have attended. Thy dedication to fostering knowledge and growth is truly inspiring, sir. And the persistent energy that you have in making your team all aware and the perseverance to do things in the best interest of the children have helped us to become better and better each day. Not to forget, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our distinguished resource person, Srimati Preeti Sangwan ma'am, Principal Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan Vidyashram KM Munshimar, Jaipur. Ma'am, I'm really grateful for getting an opportunity to be able to get such invaluable expertise and insight from your side and helping us to make our classrooms more inclusive and adaptive. The views and the thoughts that you have shared today will help us make or change our learners, help us possible to make our learners become more independent, and we as mentors, how we can play a crucial role in being in responsive teaching. This All these instances that you have added, shown and talked about in this session has acted as a for thought to make our classrooms more intellectually and socially safe. The anecdotes were thought provoking, and I think we all are enriched with the understanding to welcome the diverse group with a growth mindset. And such an insight will undoubtedly have a lasting impact on our journeys as a professionals. I would also like to thank all the participants for attending this workshop, being there throughout. Your eagerness to learn and share has created this environment to be more enriching. A special note of thanks goes to the coordinating team who has meticulously planned and been behind the scenes, ensuring that the conduct is smooth. The dedication have been really worth appreciative. And in the end, I would just like to say I extend my sincere appreciation to each one of you for being a part of this workshop. Let us carry forward the knowledge and experiences that are gained here and continue to strive for excellence in all our endeavors. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much, Ranjita ma'am. And thanks one again, ma'am Preeti